Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to take a few minutes to respond to one of the questions I receive about the relational approach, the methodology, in within the parameters of how much or how long to do the actual methods per day. Now, here's the thing about about understanding the process itself. It's about the relationship. It's about changing the perceptions of the dog, how the dog perceives the person at that level, and then through changing through that connection level, when the dog begins to change how they perceive the dog owner at that level, it changes everything else. So it's really about changing how people think, and so it's about the methods themselves, how they set up that change. And so when you're doing the hands-on method, understand it's about really about changing how people think, and that's a tall order sometimes. I understand that because oftentimes in training, people will try to make a separation. This is can be one of the problems with training is not recognizing that to the dog it's about life. I mean, it's relational. It's packages up that way. It's not just some sort of abstract thing where you're going through the motions of doing the training, or which means that you're going through the routine of something, and then on the other side of the line, you're doing the same things with how you're connecting with the dog, your emotions. You're just hanging out certain ways, and you're not, and the dog still perceives you as as not gaining momentum to come into right relationship through leadership, which means that you're trying to say, well, on this side I'll do Dale's methods, I'll practice, but on this side I'll still do the same things I've always done with how I'm emotionalizing my dog and all these different things. And so what happens is it just doesn't work because the dog knows the difference. They're saying, well, hold on here a second, this person isn't really changing how they think, how they're connecting with me, and so so it doesn't come together properly. So this is why when you look at training, it's about seeing everything as an opportunity. So when you're doing the training, it's not just trying to set up a routine that way. Of course, you're doing the training and you're going to be walking the dog and using the leashes, and there is some structure there. Of course, there's more intentional type of training that way where you're using the leash and really putting the sequencing together with the using the push pull and doing certain things, and really with meeting other people, and that's important. Don't get me wrong, you do all those things, that's very helpful. But then also understand when you're just hanging out with the dog, say you're watching television, whatever it is still understanding. It's still about reconciling, making sure the dog understands that you're changing how you think. It'd be no different than, say, with parenting. If you're if you're hanging out watching TV with your kids and you're following the right parenting style and you're sitting on the couch, I could watch a TV show, but my son or daughter can still say, the message I'm saying is, well, no, Dale's still the parent. Don't be fooled. I mean, we're getting along, but if something goes down, I have to deal with it, and not in a bad way. When I say that's about what's reasonable, right? It's all about, and that's the same thing here. I talk about the reasonable nature of the method, the type of influence, right? It's not over the top and meant to harm the dog. It's about, understanding the language it speaks to create change. So, but getting a picture of that, a better sense of that in your daily routine, it's understanding that it's really about interacting in all different ways, all these moments that come together. And that's why I say, make sure even not using the leash. See, I show people your arm becomes a leash, right? Your fingers are the hook, just that how you're connecting with the dog that way. And you still are able to, to influence how the dog thinks, okay, through how the method is expressed, okay, through without a leash, working off of, again, you see the staging area and how that sets up, but really being consistent in that. So you have to really understand it's about real, and then using the structure, okay, the crate effectively, and bringing the crate online, so the dog is, because what happens is the dog will sense that you're changing and they'll get desperate. Okay, you'll see them really trying to overinvest now because they're trying to make up the difference. They're like, they sense that, okay, he or she's changing. They were like my main, supply source. And now you'll see them really get desperate. You'll wonder, like, why is the dog getting so desperate? I really want to hang out or go towards the other dog or the windows or doors or whatever, because they know it's like a drug. And that's why the crate, you have to put some structure there to make sure the dog is not able to do that. You have to, as you're fading in to the picture properly. So, you have to put structure there so that there's basically no escape, okay, for the dog to get outside the parameters of the method that way through you, with you becoming the pivot point. And that's not a bad thing. It's, again, what's reasonable. And the dog comes into agreement with it. That's a great thing. The dog is very accepting of it. So just understand, it's even with these, again, I show these off-leash moments. It's the proactive nature of that. It's not based on bad behavior, right? You're doing them to promote change. It's relational. It's like understanding the mind of the dog, moving the relationship from point A to point B. So it's proactive. The method's because it's not reactive. Because a lot of times, if you're reactive, right? Just think, if you're trying to be, trying to say you were a parent that was kind of behind the eight ball a little bit, and suddenly you realize, hey, I have to make up some difference here. I have to get more involvement. Well, there's a proactive nature of that. If you're just reactive, you're behind. You always feel like you're trying to gain something, you can't get there. It's the same thing understanding the mind of the dog. Once the dog has gained traction and has achieved a level of control in the relationship, you have to make the adjustment to move ahead of that, in order to frame it up in such a way that you're fading in. And that's why the methodology needs to be proactive. It's understanding that waiting for bad behavior is not going to cut it, because the dog is already doing certain things and they're already at a certain level. And so you have to understand, that's why I say, just as the dog begins to think it, okay, that investment level, you're actually bringing the methodology online. That's why, when you see me working the method, people will look at that and say, well, Dale's, influence is coming online, but way too soon. I'm a different frequency. That's what makes this system really unique. It's understanding that, yes, it's about understanding dogs at that level, about changing the perceptions of the dog and what that represents. And speaking the right language, it sets up change very effectively, because you're not in a reactive state. You're in a proactive state, and then great things happen. So anyway, just something to think about when you bring the method online. It's meant to change you, meant to change the person. It's not some sort of, line where over on one side you're doing the method, over the other side you can still carry on like you did before. And that was the problem. The dogs are incredible. They know the difference, whether or not you're becoming the real deal or not. And so the methodology has to take hold throughout. It's meant to change how you think. And then once you change how you think, it changes everything. And you're a different person anyway. You're going to think different, but it's going to be better for the dog. It's going to be better for you. Because ultimately, it's just like a confidence building exercise. It's really, it's a great thing. But you have to embrace it. You have to invest properly in that. And, make sure that you're doing see everything as an opportunity. Make sure you're not just, going back to your old ways. That's why always training, doing it sooner is better, because once you get into a certain pattern of thinking and you let things kind of go on for months, it doesn't make it more difficult. Over time it can still be done, but always better to get those routines fixed sooner. So anyway, just something to think about when you think about the methodology, the proactiveness of it, why things, when I talk about the method and how it works, it's very effective because, it's going deeper. It's about understanding the mind of the dog and how the perceptions change as you begin to interact differently, think differently, and promote a different way of being taking the leadership role. So anyway, it's something to think about. Thanks for watching.